Hey everyone, before we dive in, if you enjoy stories about personal growth and tough life choices, hit that subscribe button and join the channel. It really means a lot. I never imagined I'd end up facing her like this. The documents clutched in my grip, my pulse racing as if it were turning against me. Anna, my Anna. We'd shared 12 years of marriage, built visions of the future, handled expenses together, traded private laughs, and collected enough moments to stock a modest bookshelf. Yet here everything came down to one page. Separation. My fingers trembled a bit as I set the papers down on the kitchen table. She glanced up from her screen. Her expression showed a blend of annoyance and disinterest, as though I were disrupting her neatly arranged routine. Sitting next to her was her pal Isla, wide-eyed and upbeat, the sort who always viewed life with an optimistic glow. She leaned in, her tone gentle yet direct. I mean, David, she's really a decent woman. You get that, don't you? I held her stare steadily, picking my response with care. Yes, she's a decent woman, I replied deliberately, letting the silence linger a moment, but only around your husband. Those words seemed to linger heavily in the room. Anna blinked, like it took a second for my meaning to sink in. Isla's grin wavered a touch, the edges of her mouth twitching in that telltale sign someone is rethinking their assumptions. I hadn't come to debate or justify anything. I wasn't there to plead. I was there to set a boundary I should have established long before. When we first connected, Anna had been captivating, brimming with joy and affection. I was David, the reserved type with a reliable career who enjoyed weekend brunches and aimless road trips. She'd appreciated those qualities in me. She'd mentioned it plenty of times. We clicked, at least for a period. Our days had a comfortable flow. Small habits, midnight talks, meals filled with care and chuckles. But around the 7th year, things started to unravel. Subtle changes initially. The way her fingers once rested on my arm now just grazed it quickly. The stories I shared that used to spark her giggles now got absent looks toward her device. I told myself it was job pressure, fatigue, a passing phase. I put in effort. I truly did. But as I slid the separation papers toward her, I saw that the passing phase had dragged on for years. Still, there was this odd serenity in my heart, a peaceful surrender. I wasn't furious anymore. Not truly. Just weary from acting like her detachment was a puzzle I could solve. Isla, picking up on the change, attempted once more. David, she's truly a decent woman. You're judging too strictly. I gave a soft laugh, barely audible. Decent woman. If you're her husband, I echoed quieter now. That's the issue, Isla. I'm not that anymore. A lengthy quiet followed. You could practically hear the clock marking time in the hush. Anna didn't protest. She didn't tear up. She simply stared downward, toying with her cuff. The atmosphere between us had shifted. What felt numb and burdensome for so long suddenly sharpened into focus. It wasn't about fault. It wasn't about rage. It was about acknowledgement. I'd lingered far beyond what was healthy, waiting for her to return, waiting for the woman I'd cherished to resurface. But affection can't flow one way indefinitely. And right then, I realized I'd picked myself. I recall the initial time we cracked up over something silly. The relaxed weekend mornings when food seemed better just from sharing it. Those recollections hurt now, but they belonged to me. And after so long, I sense a tiny spark of liberation. If you face a choice like this or hung on too long in a connection that wasn't thriving, let me know. Drop your experience in the comments. Opening up does more good than you realize. Her pal made one last effort, a note of concern slipping into her words. David, are you certain about this? I nodded, my face steady and firm. I'm certain. This isn't driven by hatred or resentment or retribution. It's rooted in what's real, and reality won't pause for anyone to get on board. I sense Anna's eyes on me, intense now, like she was truly noticing me after ages. And that was a twist. She'd always assumed she understood me completely. She hadn't. I'd become subdued, quiet, enduring, and through it all, I'd grown conscious of my own value. And now, I refuse to trade it for someone who overlooked it. If this tale hits home for you, think about passing it along to somebody who could use it right now. Occasionally, the perfect narrative at the ideal moment can shift how someone sees things. The space felt altered afterward. The vibe was denser, sure but freer too, as if a downpour had cleared, leaving an unusual peace. Anna and Isla shared a glance loaded with unspoken thoughts. And me. I just grabbed my jacket, prepared to head into a future that was unknown. Yeah, but fully mine once more. I left the kitchen and moved through the hall, my steps resonating lightly on the wood floors. No yelling, no banging doors, no over-the-top conclusion, just a steady, intentional pace of somebody taking back their existence. I stopped at the entrance, palm on the knob, and drew a deep inhale. For years, I gauged my value by her feelings, her okay, her brief focus. Now, it didn't count for anything. I thought back to the times I'd awakened by myself, the minor changes in her voice that once twisted my gut. Those repeated little dismissals had worn me down over time. And now, gripping the separation papers like an emblem of insight, of self-regard. Often, the most basic actions hold the deepest meaning. As I went out, the cool night breeze struck me, and for the first time in what seemed forever, I breathed out completely. Urban noises buzzed nearby. Far-off cars, soft chuckles from a close park. But I existed in my personal space, a serene zone of independence that needed no one's stamp of approval. I headed to my go-to cafe, where the staff recognized me, and got a plain coffee. Settling near the glass, I observed folks going by, pairs giggling, buddies talking, unknowns lost in their lives. I experienced an odd blend of jealousy and peace. Jealousy, since some appear to handle romance without trying. Peace because I'd at last grasped that affection requiring endless pursuit isn't genuine affection. In the days that followed, Anna and I stayed out of touch. And that felt right. Quiet can overwhelm, but it can mend too. Amid that quiet, I saw that every year I poured in, not only money-wise, but heart-wise, hadn't gone to waste. They'd show me tolerance, compassion, and above all, personal value. One day, while organizing old stuff in the storage area, I came across a picture from our honeymoon trip. We beamed, holding each other close, happily oblivious to the flaws that would later appear. I gripped the image, running my finger over our younger selves, and briefly let a gentle grin form. It wasn't resentment or sorrow. It was acceptance. We'd cared deeply once, and that had been genuine. But genuine or not, it was over. About 7 days on, I bumped into Isla at the market. She came over carefully, unsure, as if debating whether I'd respond. I offered a brief nod, the type meaning, I notice you, but I'm not diving into past issues. She grinned weakly and mentioned, Anna's been chatting. I shook my head softly. Isla, anything she's sharing does involve me. I'm centered on going ahead. Her gaze warmed. I suppose I just didn't see how deep it ran for you. I gave a relaxed smile. It's run deep for me for ages. Isla, I simply had to accept it for what it was. The following days blended peaceful thinking with basic self-kindness. Preparing a dish I loved, reconnecting with pals, passing a night with a novel without interruption. It was incredible how ordinary stuff seemed huge when you're at last prioritizing yourself over another's demands. Then a ring came from shared acquaintance, Hannah, who typically sided with Anna, but knew me enough to get my side. She inquired carefully if I was all right. I inhaled deeply and answered truthfully, I'm more than all right. I'm liberated, and liberation feels easier than I thought. That evening, I positioned myself by the window with my journal, noting ideas I'd suppressed for years. I penned the insights gained. Affection shouldn't ever demand your self-respect. Quiet often reveals more than speech. Stepping away isn't defeat. At times, it's the path to victory. If you battle to uncover your inner power during heartbreak, press that subscribe button and become part of a group that cherishes development, toughness, and personal dignity. Tales like these show us that closures can lead to fresh starts. Shortly after, Anna's friend contacted again, this time not protectively, but with a touch of insight. David, I understand now why you went through with it. I nodded, valuing the recognition, but knowing no statement could alter what was settled. The history was done, and the ahead, Unpredictable, sure, but mine lay out like a wide highway, ready to explore. On many nights, I catch myself recalling that kitchen scene, the documents on the table, the steadiness in my heart. It once ached to remember, but now it seems like a pivotal shift. The instant I took myself back, I don't measure myself by her acceptance anymore, nor do I chase approval from those who miss my value. I've begun picking up pastimes I'd shelved, buddies I'd ignored, an aspect of me buried beneath years of giving in. And through this gentle revival, I've discovered a fresh happiness, one shaped by my standards of good, not anybody else's. Certain evenings, I still picture talks that didn't occur, phrases left unspoken, but I've accepted it's fine. Truth tends to be subtler than anticipated, and often the strongest statements come without words, because ultimately, I didn't merely exit a marriage. I shed demands, disregard, and the burden of another's endorsement, and by that, I at last discovered who I am.